Hello, world. Hello, everybody. Good to see ya. Welcome back to Hawk Wins Radio Picture Show. As always, my name is Jack Dwyer.
And I'm Jay Smooth.
We have such a great show for you guys tonight. For any of you who are just tuning in for the very first time, welcome. Good to see you. Again, my name is Jack. This is my partner, Jay. And we host a show every Wednesday night highlighting Chicago artists of all different mediums, whether it be filmmakers, photographers, puppeteers. We've had artists of musicians.
Don't forget about the musicians.
Can't forget about the musicians. We're a radio picture show. How could I forget about the musicians? But yeah, we highlight different artists of all different mediums. So if you enjoy the show tonight, be sure to subscribe, leave us a like, leave us a comment down below too. Let us know if you have any questions or anything like that throughout the show. And enjoy yourselves. Put us up on your big screen. We're going to be here for a little while. And me and Jade tune in every Wednesday night, every Wednesday at 6 o'clock. So stay tuned. We got a lot of cool spooky stuff coming up for the rest of the spooky season. And some gobble stuff coming up this Thanksgiving time. So that is foreshadowing for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, no, we have a lot of good times every week. One of the things Jay asked me before we got started, do we have any banter? And I was like, well, I just pulled up my Citizens app and it says ear bitten off during an altercation. EMS is at the scene as police seek a shoeless and shirtless suspect.
Hold on, Mike Tyson's around?
Maybe.
What the fuck?
I bit a thea. Vanda.
Have you seen those Mike Tyson like chocolate ears?
No.
Dude, he's got like a brand of like, I think it's chocolate, but it's literally just little ears.
Yeah. Are there any drugs in it? Because he's on
It
the
might
mushroom
be
train right now, dude.
Might be mushroom. I know for a fact it's like little ears, which I thought was fucking hilarious.
It's adorable.
You
Poor
bite off a
Evander.
dude's ear and you make money off it. 10
Yeah.
years later.
This is America. Huh?
Fucking America.
Other than that, no. Well, our thoughts are going out to everyone out in the southern region, southeastern region of the United States right now. Our girl Marley, who tunes in every week. I know you're Floridian, so stay tough out there. Don't forget that we're all in this together, near, far, wherever we are. It's a weird thing. It's our country needs us right now. And not to get too political, but we're throwing all this money overseas to places we can't even identify on a map, and our own are suffering. And I don't know. I don't want to get political, but I think that's some crazy shit. Anywho, Jay, anything new with you this week, brother?
Not really. I met a couple cool people this week, some radio station people, which I'm not gonna mention yet. So be on the lookout for some cool guests in the next couple months. But other than that, man, you know, life as usual, working on the podcast, doing just doing music shit with my band, you know.
That's good, man. You guys got a new show coming up pretty soon?
Yeah, I can't talk about it yet. It's still in the works. I just got the email yesterday, but it's something screwing up now.
That's good.
Boiling up.
That's good, man.
We're about to pop off. 2025 year of the skies are shifting.
Yeah, baby. You know it. Well, best of luck to you guys. That's awesome. Let's
Yeah,
keep us all informed. You know, we'd love to come out and ship up and show out, baby.
Any new critical mass stories?
No, not really, man. I'm going to be busy this October for the Arts in the Dark Parade. That's going to be something kind of cool. I just got hired on with Cabinet of Curiosity, and we're going to be doing, I'm going to be directing a lot of young artists going into State Street. So for those of you who are interested in that, I think it's Friday, October 25th. It's the last Friday before Halloween. But it's really cool. They shut down State Street from State and Lake Stop at the Chicago Theater all the way down towards the library out by Harold Washington. So check it out if you get a chance. Arts in the Dark Parade. It's really cool. It's free too, which is freaking awesome about Chicago. Some really incredible people that go through that parade.
Speaking of Halloween, I had some people ask me the other day what my favorite haunted house was. I don't know what to answer them because I don't really go to haunted houses. But I figured you might know the answer.
Oh, I'll tell you right now, dude. Hell's Gate Haunted House. Best in the business. If you go, bring a stuffed animal for Fluffy. I love it.
Fluffy? Whoa.
Fluffy, yeah.
What the fuck is Fluffy?
Oh, you'll find out.
Gabriel Iglesias?
Sure. We can go with that.
Oh, shit, man.
No, Hell's Gate Haunted House is really great. I really have a good time with those guys. Midnight Terror Haunted House is another fabulous one out in Oak Lawn. So go check them out, though, man. They're fun. Hell's Gate is my favorite though. I'm a
Joliet
little
Prison
biased.
isn't a haunted house, is it? Is it just a prison?
I think they do still do the haunted house there.
Mm.
Yeah, I believe so. Are you planning on going sometime soon?
I plan on going to one of them.
Yeah.
I don't know which one yet.
You're not bringing a date there, are you?
Probably not. I have friends that work at Hell's Gate, so
Yeah.
I might end up going there at some point.
Go. Don't bring a date. That's why I asked you, because I brought a date one time to a haunted house, and I looked like the biggest pussy.
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't get a second date after, as you can imagine, because like I let out all my fears and anxieties.
Yeah, it's hard to sleep with a guy that pees his pants after getting scared. That's what I would have done.
It's not my fault I have a clown. I'm kidding. I love the clowns. Check it out though, man. It's a lot of fun. Be weary though. It's fun. It's always a good time.
I like those haunted houses where they make you sign like release forms because you might get like fucking murdered.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be a delightful holiday experience?
Yeah. I forgot which one it's called. There's one that I'm thinking of specifically though.
Our boy John Guzman is working at one.
Do you remember what it's called?
Casa de Muertos, Casa de Diablo, House
think
of
it
the
was
Dead
like-
or House of the Devil.
I think it was
one or
like
the other.
Casa de Muertos or Casa Satanica or something like that.
Si primo. That's what
yes,
it is.
yes.
Satanica.
Oui.
We.
Oh wait, that's a different language.
Well.
Anyways.
But speaking of the Halloween season, we've got a really great guest tonight. This guy does a little bit of everything when it comes to special effects, to photography, to filmmaking, and he's a good friend of mine too, especially. Please, everybody, welcome to the show, Dennis Preston.
Hello, everyone.
Thanks for joining us, Dennis. We
thank you for having me
appreciate
on board.
Dennis is in charge of Preston Perspectives, and he also is riding the wave right now of his new film premiere, Later, a post-apocalyptic thriller. Can you tell us a little bit about the film Later?
I am terrible at synopses, but it is pretty much a story of revenge, of action, of everything in between that you love from independent cinema. It's again, I'm terrible at describing it. That's why I'm just like, just go watch it. You can't watch it anywhere at the moment, but for those you guys were there. How would you describe it if you were, someone who was not like me, who is a blubbering idiot? How would you describe my film to the masses?
I would say it was apocalyptic thriller. The fight choreography was on fleek, as the kids back in the day were
As
saying.
the kids would say.
It was really cool. I thought the cinematography was wonderful. You guys did a really good job filming the whole thing. It was debauchery at its finest from a post-apocalyptic standpoint. It was sex, drugs, rock and roll, violence. I'm going to mention the fight scenes again because they were all super well choreographed and they all looked super realistic, and like you guys really kicked a lot of ass in the movie.
Well,
it
thank
was
you.
Really cool.
Yeah, it's always been, anytime I see independent cinema, they just, I guess they just don't have, and I'm talking about like the people who, spend 6 months to a year to make a film because they don't have enough money. But, a lot of, at least around the circles I know, there's people that have, they want to do a cool fight scene or whatever. And then it's like, but they don't know how to properly execute it, I guess. So they try to hide it with a lot of cuts and, try to hide the fact that they didn't do a good job. And it's like, I didn't want that. And I've always been a big fan of like Jackie Chan films and things like that at a young age. And his look at it was always to get it all in as much of one shot as possible, because then you can actually see the fight. And so we tried to make that, our shooting style when it came to the fight scenes is try to get so much as one takes as possible, and then just kind of build up from there, where it's like, that angle didn't look right for that punch, let's get a shot over here. And it's like, it didn't look right over here, so let's get another shot over here. So we kind of MacGyvered it together to make it work. But most of the shots were if there's an entire like a minute fight or whatever, it's like, do it in one take and then go backwards from there.
And from the get-go too, the opening fight scene I thought was so fabulous. I'm also a little biased because it was two of my good friends too, Blaine Childers. I don't want to ruin what happens at the end of it, but I texted him after. I was like, bro, Heads were rolling. We'll say that.
Yeah.
And it was so cool. Like right from the get go, him and Nicole did such a cool fight scene. And maybe can you talk us through a little bit about like how do you choreograph something like that when you're on set?
So I'm a bit different. Again, like I said before, I MacGyver things together. So when I'm looking at a fight scene, 99.9% of all the fight scenes you guys saw, none of those were rehearsed. I mean, they were rehearsed the day of, but it's not like we picked a day beforehand to rehearse and do things like that. Even the machete fight we filmed day of, though we filmed on 2 separate days because we ran out of time the day before, so 2 months later. But anyway, because there's not a lot of people I'll let swing a real machete at me. But when it comes to building a fight, we kind of I can see what I want to do in my head, and it helps to be in the scene itself. Like in the beginning of the film on the bridge, it's like, okay, well, we have these 2 walls. We don't want to go over the wall except for one guy. But so we have that a space to work in. So I kind of just like, okay, well, if I'm over here, if I fall this way, I can turn someone, or I can use the slats in between the railing there to jump someone's head through, or just build it from there. It's not the best. It's not the most practical because it takes more time. So it is more. It's easier to film a fight scene if you just rehearse it like you should, and it's a lot safer too. That way all the obstacles and all the things that you're going into before you build a fight. But yeah, that's pretty much my process. Is I look at it again as one shot, and it's like, okay, well, from this angle, because we're not technically supposed to actually hit people when we're actually doing a fight scene. Though the scene with Blaine, those were actual hits because I had a flak vest underneath myself that day because I was like, no, just freaking hit me, just so. Blaine previously being a boxer, I told him, it's like, go for it. So those are real impacts that you see for most of the time on my part because I'm a moron. But yeah, no, it's a lot of fun, and we're professional, but also we're professional idiots is probably the best way to put it in building these things.
Kind of like the Jackass crew.
Maybe not that idiotic, but
But there's a little bit of improvisation that,
yes.
to being on set and being in that situation. Were there any major injuries that happened while filming?
Yes, there were. Let's see. In regards to other people, there was 3. One of them wasn't during filming at all. Someone just while we were on set, they were fell off the stairs and hit their head. But from what I remember, no, there was 4 injuries. There's a lot of injuries over 9 years, but the ones I can remember. So in the hold on, brain is reprocessing. So yeah, someone fell and hit their head in the cage fight. Jason Maples, who plays Abraham Cole, he didn't tell me this until months later. We were filming the scene where in the cage, and he grabs me and then throws me through the cage door there. And when he throws me through the cage door in the first take, he apparently broke his thumb. And we just kept filming, and that was like hours and hours of filming afterwards. And I didn't know about it until months later. Another injury that happened was a broken rib, and during the montage sequence towards the end, there's one of the men in the orange suits, one of the escaped prisoners, so-called escaped prisoners. A woman comes up and shoots him before they get on the bike and drive off. He falls backwards. He breaks his rib there. And again, he didn't tell me. Completely different person. Didn't tell me until months later. I'm like, the only one allowed to be hurt on my set and still work is myself. If you get hurt, you need to let me know. I mean, the other, they're also like me where they're stubborn and, things like that. But it's like, you got to tell me these things, man. And another one that pops off the top of my head is our friend Muker. We were doing a fight. I believe it's in what we call the Gulthorn, but where most of the debauchery is happening towards the end of the film. because I hit him and then throw him down. He hits his head on the door, and it may sound like a sound effect, but no, we left it in there because he slammed his head hard. He threw up after that hit.
Jesus.
But he's like, no, you better leave it in the film. I threw up for that. So, shout out to Muker for being a, tough-headed bastard.
Hell yeah.
Bucher the puker.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I've hurt myself, too. Like, again, when I was thrown through that door, I, got slammed on my back on the corner of the concrete wall, and I didn't know about it till later because when you're doing scenes like that, your adrenaline's up. You're just going and going. And, I mean, you've been on film sets. There's an adrenaline just fills you up with, a unpredictable amount of energy to just keep going and going and not realize your health is also a thing.
Right.
But yeah,
Especially
no,
if you're in the zone, yeah.
I think those are the biggest injuries that happen. But other than that, I can't think of anything else major. Probably cuts, scrapes here. Oh, Jason, our key grip and also sound and also did camera. Everyone on my set always did a little bit of everything. Jason Hartman, he broke his ankle jumping across the creek when we were moving equipment to film somewhere else, and he jumped and then landed poorly. So,
Man. And where, because you shoot a lot outside, a lot of it, and it's interesting because I grew up in parts of like Southwest Michigan, and it was interesting because the plot of it, I'm assuming you start Southwest Michigan through Indiana into Chicago, and I'm just gonna take a stab at it. Warren Dunes? Did you shoot at Warren Dunes or?
I don't think we shot there at all. I don't even think we shot at the Indiana Dunes at all in its entirety. No, I mean we shot in Indiana, we've shot in Chicago, we shot in Southern Illinois. I got B-roll and way down. We shot things in Indianapolis. We shot things in Michigan City, Indiana. I don't think we shot in Wisconsin, but yeah, we went all over, and the amount of B-roll that we that we captured unnecessarily. There's probably hours of B-roll that we caught that we like full-on scenes where we had people do things. We had one shot where we had in front of my mom's house there we had a priest type character going around collecting dead bodies in a shopping cart. And we just did a tracking shot but that's not in the film because it didn't really fit anywhere. But we have a lot of footage like that. So we have shot all over. But the Warren Dunes, it's in particular, we did not. But I'm glad that you caught the aspect of the travel. That's another reason why I wanted to shoot all over is because, there's a lot of walking and, travel. And it's, to me, it didn't seem like it was, relaying that kind of information. So I wanted to make sure that was in there because travel is important. There's and to also explain the time gap to account for lazy writing.
No, I definitely felt the travel of going around the lake at least to the city, and maybe I was hoping you can talk a little bit more about how was it filming in parts of Indiana? Your premiere was in Michigan City, Indiana. It's a lovely town.
Yeah.
You want to tell us a little bit about your experience there?
Well, so in Michigan City, Indiana is where we filmed a good third of the film because Johnny V, who plays Krieg in the film and is also the mastermind behind the entirety of the soundtrack. We have a completely original soundtrack that you guys have heard, and that is something that we do have for sale. We don't have the film yet, but we do have this available. If you don't have time or the money to get a physical copy, you can look it up. It's just later a post-apocalyptic soundtrack. You type in Johnny V, you should be able to find it on Pandora, on sound, all those things that I don't even listen to. But anyway, so because we were looking for a spot to film certain things, and usually when I'm looking for locations, they are because they're either easy to or they're what's the term? Like they just happen to, be a perfect match because it's like, oh, it just so a coincidence that we find a place or whatever. And he plays every Tuesday night at Zorn's Brewery, which is in Michigan City, Indiana. And he's like, hey, they have an entire building across the street, which used to be the original building years years ago, and it's 4 floors of solid concrete and giant open spaces, and we wanted to take a look at it. And he got us access, and now we're really good friends with him. And because the theater itself was only 3 miles down the road from Zorn's, we're like, oh, this is perfect, because then we can have the after party at Zorn's, where a lot of people spend their nights, days and nights, either sweating their asses off or freezing their asses off in that building, because it's an abandoned building. There's no heat or nothing, and we're filming in there in the middle of February when it's 20 degrees out, and you know, it's even colder with concrete, you know, and sub-levels and everything. So, yeah, no, filming in Indiana is, I mean, I don't think it's any different than filming anywhere else, but I have a lot of friends there, so it's you know, ease of accessibility.
Zorn's was really fun. We had a really good time at that after party. That food was so good too.
Oh yeah, they used to have these sandwiches called the Zorn sandwich, and they don't make them anymore because I think they got new chefs or something like that. But it was every time after filming, it'd be as long as we were able, because sometimes we were there till the next day, and obviously they'd be closed. But we'd always get one of those sandwiches. But yeah, no, the food there is still incredible. So if anyone happens to be going through Michigan City, Zorn's is definitely worth stopping by to, you know, check them out. And they're fantastic people, good beer, good food, you know. Yeah.
I had the fried pickles. Those were great. I'm a huge fan of fried pickles.
Yeah, I had that bang bang shrimp. That was really good
Dude,
too.
yeah, it looked delicious.
We had a good time.
Hell
That was-
yeah.
Yeah, the premiere was such a good time too. It was really fun. The theater was beautiful. You guys shot at, and you know, what was the response from a lot of people after finally seeing it after 9 years?
I mean, we had about, I think, 66 people come out, and I mean, just like yours, you know, they loved it. They were surprised. You know, they, you know, found some parts funny. I mean, I think the real comic relief in the whole film is Johnny V, who plays Krieg. Every single one of his lines is improvised. We wrote a script. There's lines there. He just took them and then just went that way, and it just ended up to be really good. It became a character in itself. So, yeah, I don't remember the question you asked.
The premiere. If you can talk about
Yeah,
the
no.
premiere, how do people receive it?
Yeah, no, like I said, yeah, people are enjoying it, and the fight scenes, you know, everything. Everyone really enjoyed it. To simplify things, I'm just going to ramble on if I keep to try to come up words. People enjoyed it.
And what's the runtime of it? It was
At the moment, it is 2 hours and 47 minutes with credits.
wow. That's incredible for an independent film to run that long too. That's very ambitious of you guys.
It used to be longer.
Yeah.
How much of that time is sex scenes?
Oh.
There was like people fucking in cars. There was like people fucking in the party. There was like people getting. There's like 2 chicks getting rammed by like 1 dude.
Well, the whole idea of the uprising is that people were, you know, wanting to be free from, you know, not necessarily oppression, but from being, you know, whatever their lives were at the time. So they took over, and it's like, well, to represent freedom, you know, showing people doing what they want to do, and nudity is a form of freedom. So it's like, throw as much of that in there as possible, you know. You know, everyone's body is different and beautiful, and it's like, yeah, you know, show it off. And a lot of the women in that film, you know, I'm, you know, proud, and that's also why I was nude in the film as well, because I work with a lot of models, whether it's in film or body painting or whatever, and it's like, well, I should understand what it's like to be naked around people like that. So hence why I did that scene.
Because you're like hanging like butt naked.
Yeah. And that's one of those days where it was like, you know, 10 degrees outside. So it was negative 20 degrees inside. So that was that room was one of the sub levels of that. So that was majority underground. So it was negative 20 in that room. So all that breath you see and everything, that's all real.
Yeah, sure. Blame the weather. I'm just kidding.
I was in the pool.
Shrinkage. I couldn't have done that, dude. Woo, man.
Kidding.
And those
props
were
to you.
those were iron chains too. But I mean, when their shots were tighter, when I wasn't in the buff or needed to be in the buff, I had you know, like the X armor, Under Armour stuff that I'd pull up, more so for the comfortability of the actress and you know, people around me. But because no one wants to see that.
People do. I was wondering, maybe can you talk to us a bit about, because you watch foreign films and nudity is such a freeing and open thing, and in American cinema, it's still kind of frowned upon in many ways. I was hoping maybe you can talk about your perspective on that of, should it be more okay and talked about more in American cinema?
I mean, nudity is a touchy subject in general, but but I went to art school, right? And in art school, you have life drawing, so it could be a 24-year-old nude model that's up there, and as a young man who, and again, I mean, I won't lie. I mean, seeing a naked woman, for the first time, that wasn't in regards to anything else. Yeah, that's kind of like, your boy brain activates.
She's
because,
hot, bro.
But other times it's it could be a 60-year-old woman, a 70-year-old man, a 40-year-old. It's once you understand that there's a difference between nudity and sex. There is a complete difference between the two, and as I said before, the human body is a beautiful thing. So I think if people, I don't think people should be prudes about it. A breast, a penis is a penis. I mean, hell, my first life casting was someone's penis. And I will gladly tell that to people because nudity is a norm in what I do. Hell, just yesterday I was doing a body painting on a friend of mine, and I was using her rear end to turn it into a pumpkin. And her cousin, who is not a model, she was laughing the whole time because it's just the model, bent forward, her butt's in my face, and I'm just painting a pumpkin. So it's as long as you respect it, I think it's something that can be utilized, but also overused in cinema. You can use it as a way to be like, oh, I want people to watch my film. Throw boobs in there, which does happen. There are some terrible films out there, but people will watch them because there is nudity in it. And I'm not, again, I won't lie. That is another reason why I wanted to include some nudity, to have some. I think a almost perfect film has all those things, that, at least in regards to horror or thrillers or anything. You got to have some drugs. You have to have some, really terrible or really fantastic violence or action scenes, and then nudity and language. It's more human. I mean, we were born naked, so I mean, well, what's the big deal?
Definitely grounds it more. It makes it, oh, these are actual people that are getting killed. It definitely grounds it.
And I feel like I did a good job enough to where it wasn't for in later. It's not forced. I feel like it's in there for a purpose, not just because it's there. I mean, again, you guys saw it, so do you feel like that was something that, because this is the first time I'm doing an interview where people have seen the film itself and are asking me questions about it after viewing it, instead of, hey, it's been 7 years, so when's it coming out? It's like, oh, what was it like shooting this thing that I've never seen before? So this is a unique and fantastic opportunity. Yeah. So
no, I thought you did a great job with it, brother. Honestly, and I think you hit it on the head. It's nudity in cinema is something that definitely needs to be respected, because there is a fine line. You know what I mean? Like people can cross that line. I thought you did it very elegantly. Okay. I thought you did. And it was interesting, the diversity of the
this coming from
too.
Of 3 different gentlemen in the room and no women to support their thoughts.
My next statement was going to be, I just enjoyed the boobs.
Yeah, it was a variety. You know what I mean? Like you'd be watching it, and then like it would happen, and you're like, that just happened.
But it kind of made the scene like more like you kind of felt it, like, oh shit, like this is really like a post-apocalyptic thing. Like nobody cares that these 2 dudes.
Yeah, no one gives a fuck. Yeah,
like they're all just, and there's people like literally beating each other up to death, and then there's people having sex right there, and then there's people doing drugs, and then there's people like drinking liquor and shit. I thought that was the coolest shit ever.
It was like an apocalyptic Diddy party. I'm kidding.
With less baby oil.
I'm kidding.
Oh Lord.
Kind of. No, the debauchery scenes were really funny too, because like Jay was saying, like there's people fighting here, there's people doing blow off each other here, there's people like having sex here. But then you think about it and you're like, man, if we were to go into an apocalyptic world, this would probably be happening.
Because who's going to stop you?
No one's
who's going to stop you? I mean, you can stop somebody, but they're probably going to fight you to the death.
Like no one
so I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now, what kind of research did you do going into making this? Do you watch a lot of apocalyptic movies or?
So when I write a script, and it didn't take me very long, and I also had been sitting on it for a while because originally I made a short film in 2015. No, way before 2017. Anyway, no, 2015 sounds about right. But anyway, when I write something in regards to inspiration or whatever, I'll listen to music or things, but I try not to watch those genres because I don't want to fall into what everyone else is doing, which I feel like it did anyway. But that's just because as humans, and then especially as artists like myself, even you can have the most creative mind in the world, but you still have your world to reference from. Like if I'm drawing, somebody's face completely from scratch, somewhere along the way there's 20 people that have just went into that reference because it's in my brain. So the same thing with writing a script, it's like, oh well, I know what a car looks like. Again, a super simple example, but it's hard to come up with something new. And so I try not to watch apocalyptic films or anything like that during the writing process or anything, because I didn't want it to influence me into certain cliches or anything that is done specifically as just, it's like, oh, well, this is just a thing. Though I will say, I don't think anyone picked up on it, but anytime in apocalyptic film, they're always going to Alaska for some reason. And in the film, I wanted to put that nod in there for sure and be like, oh, it's like, oh yeah, no, there's this place. It's like, where is this place? It's up north. We're going up that way. That's always a common thing in films. That is like a little Easter egg thing for apocalyptic film people that probably only two probably got, and then even less understood. But yeah, so it's a fun process. It's a chaotic process, but I think I answered that question. Again,
Yeah.
I'm stopping. It's like, don't ramble. You're rambling. Why are you still rambling?
No, it's a good. No, you're good, brother. That's why we're interviewing you. No, I thought it was very unique in its own way. I didn't think you're stepping on toes, or it was so unique, and it was very grounded, and it was interesting because especially in parts of Indiana too, like a lot of these old neighborhoods are run down like that.
Yeah.
And like stuff like that is actually happening nowadays. I was wondering maybe if you can touch a little bit on that of like, do you see the world slipping into this
Well,
kind
it
of
was
world, or?
it was kind of funny. Well, it wasn't funny at the time. Now it is, but we filmed everything for the most part. There were still things here and there, inserts, whatever. But we were in the editing process, and we were like, oh well. So my friend Corey Davis, who is a co-writer, sound recordist, engineer, whatever. I'm not good at. I don't remember what specifically the title is, but he did the sound. He did camera work as well. And he sat down with me and was like, hey, I think I have this idea that would really help increase or create a character arc, because there really wasn't one. And we sat down and talked about it, and it was like, okay, let's do it. So we wrote about another 38 pages, and right when we were about to start filming it, COVID hit. And seeing a lot of elements that were happening in the real world, like running out of toilet paper and things like that, were things that we already kind of had in our minds, as far as like in the montage sequence, telling having the radio news stories and things like that. And I had some people say, it's like, well, why don't you go down to like the riots and the crowds and get footage of that? And I'm just like, that as smart of an idea as that would be for someone who has no money and can't have access to thousands of people, I also, for me, not saying that it would be, but to me, I thought that would be disrespectful to what was happening in the world at the time. It's like, well, I'm not going to go down. One, I don't want to be in a crowd of 10,000 people when there is a deadly virus going around,
Yeah.
The second thing is, I don't, I believe in getting consent from people and not just, whipping out the camera and just hoping they don't notice. And when it came to all the different rallies and the reasonings behind those rallies, that would not be the time or place to be like, hey, let's let's utilize this and get footage for our movie. No.
It's noble of you.
Yeah.
I know a lot of dudes that would do that. That's noble.
Yeah.
of
I
you.
mean, again, I'm not saying that it would be wrong. It's just, to me personally, it wouldn't have felt right, so I didn't do it.
Yeah.
Was COVID the reason it took 9 years to film?
No, that we started in July of 2017. So no, no, COVID was not the reason. It might have added on an extra year, but luckily the majority of the scenes that we filmed after, that we wrote, after we were done filming everything else, were really between myself and Chris Greer, who plays Henry in the film. So it was a lot of just two people, and then we had maybe two other crew members or whatever to work cameras, whatever else. So it worked in our favor, and of course we did it safely. And then as restrictions started to ease up and things like that, and tests became more available and all that stuff, and vaccinations, we were able to film larger scenes as well. But yeah, we were filming. Hell, I think we filmed a couple things this year before putting it up on the premiere. So yeah, nine years is a yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, no, it's lack of money and too many ideas is probably the reason why, because if we had money, sure, we probably could have shot it, but I feel like if we did have the money, we probably wouldn't have been able to get the same respect towards it, because after 9 years, you learn a lot about what to do and what not to do, and how to deal with certain people and how to interact with a larger group of people that you're filming. There is so many things to learn, and I wouldn't trade it for the world, because we actually filmed something like before the premiere, because the film was done. So after that, we were filming a short thing called Axe Tag, which is like a fake commercial. It's just something for fun, and it was over a 2-day period, and I had a whole schedule and everything. I read it out, I highlighted things, I did a whole schedule, and we got done on time. We got done like never happens. Even on professional sets that aren't mine.
Nope.
Getting done on time is a very rare thing to happen on a film set. And I remember the last day we were shooting, I looked at the clock. I just put the last thing in the car, and it was like 7:56 p.m. And on my schedule, it said wrap time, 8 o'clock, out of the building.
Nice.
And I was like, oh.
Let's go, baby.
So it's a, I wouldn't change it for the world. Those 9 years, I mean, I'm glad it took that long, because it's just a invaluable amount of knowledge and experience that I can't get anywhere else. Not that I want to do it again.
Now, what were some of the biggest things that you learned through your experiences that you'd like to mention?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned a few of them, but as far as like when to feed people, food is very important on the film set, because people, especially if nobody on our set, we didn't pay anybody. Some gas money here or there, not that we didn't want to, but it's just, there's over 200 people involved with this film.
Yeah.
And that's a lot, and food is important, so we made sure to spend money on that. But if you feed people after a certain time, what I learned was that if you're going to feed people, always have snacks crafty, your fruit snacks, granola bars, bananas, water, things like that. But you find a time where it's like, okay, in your schedule, you have your big scene, the biggest scene of the day, something that takes the most energy or the most amount of time, whatever. You film that first. All the easy stuff you film after people eat, because after people eat, things slow down. Like, regardless of how good you are, a professional are, it's just human nature. After you eat, you want to sit down and relax or something like that. And I usually don't eat on set because of that fact. I'm a run and gun, and boom, boom. I'm going, 125%, 24/7 until cameras are off and it's time to go home. But that's one thing I learned. Another thing was timing and figuring out how to build your shot list, at least for myself. Everyone has their own ways, but kind of like the same thing with the fight scenes. A lot of our shots, and I'm sure it's noticeable. We notice it when we're editing. If you watch the film, you'll see what scenes were filmed early on and what scenes were filmed way later on. no pun intended. Having a master shot. I love master shots because it's an ability to see the entire scene in one take, and it also helps to get repetition into whether it's a fight scene or dialogue or whatever. It helps to get repetition and be able to learn what you're doing in the scene and things like that. So I usually like to start off my scenes with one just long take, just get a master shot. Sometimes a master shot or establishing shot, whether it's one or two cameras, just to make sure we got everything, because I'll add shots I think we need, and it's like I'll play the scene in my head, and it's like, okay, well, I need this shot of this hand picking up this item or whatever. And then after I have that master shot, I can be like, oh, well, in the master shot it looks pretty good there, so I can cross that one off. That just saved us 35 minutes of time. On to the next. Do we need this? So I can pretty much check off what we need and don't need, because at the end of the day, you don't want to keep people there for too long. People can get antsy, but that's where food comes in handy. Food will appease the most angriest baby. So
Snickers.
Those I feel like learning how to properly schedule and time things. There's a whole bunch of different examples, but timing and scheduling and learning how to properly figure out what you need and don't need is the biggest things that I learned in general on these sets, on this project. And again, like I said, with the Axe Tag, I applied all those things we learned, and boom, we were done and out of the order. I mean, of course, I'm not going to be overconfident and be like, oh, that's only happened every time. No. For people who aren't filmmakers and aren't on film sets, there are just things that happen that nobody can ever possibly imagine happening. There's variables that you would never think of.
What's like one example that you came across in your set?
On our set, there's things from a special effects example, fake blood freezes in the cold. And as I said before, in that concrete building during the winter months, things freeze. So, that was, as a up and coming FX artist, that was not something I considered. It's like, oh, well, this isn't like water or nothing. It's not funny. But someone on that set, I don't remember his name, who was another FX artist, told me, it's like, hey, you should, add vodka to the blood, so that way it doesn't freeze. And I have yet to need to do that, but because only I am someone who is crazy enough to freeze people in the middle of winter in Chicago. I'm either making you sweat or making you freeze, one or the other. But yeah, so that's something that is something I never would have been like, oh, well, this freezing isn't going to be a problem. Why would that be a problem? It's not like, so, there's little things like that. And, as far as like, though it's a more common thing, but, batteries can also be affected by heat or cold, though heat was never really a problem, but cold can, it can, especially older batteries. But yeah, there's just a whole bunch of random things that can happen that you just can never ever prepare for until they happen. And usually when those things happen, that's usually another thing that goes into my kit, where it's like, oh, well, I didn't have power on this set. I'm going to add a little power strip thing into my kit. It's like, oh, well, this actor is from Ireland, and that, though this isn't on a film set for later, but for a film I was working on in Kentucky, filmmakers from Ireland came over, and for them, if it gets above 64 degrees Fahrenheit for us, if it gets above that, they get heat advisories.
Shit.
So in the middle of August in Kentucky, a lot of them got sick. So I now, and that's not a thing, when you think about working with people across seas or whatever with different climates. But I had a little neck fan because I was putting this guy in full on, foam latex prosthetics. I bought a fan from Walmart, a neck fan, and put it underneath the prosthetic so that way he could not die. Yeah. But yeah, no, there's a whole bunch of random examples, and I couldn't even name most of them because they haven't happened yet, but they could.
They will.
Do you know how much blood you guys used?
No, I mean, it's not like we were trying to set a record. I'm usually pretty, at least with my own stuff, with blood work, I try to go realistic as far as like, oh, if an arterial spray happens, how much blood is going to come out here? What, you know, if someone gets shot in the head, what's going to happen? So I don't think we used a terrible amount, and I didn't keep track, so I wouldn't be able to answer that for you. A decent amount for sure.
Yeah,
we're not setting records by any means, because this isn't. I didn't want it to be a horror film. It's more of a thriller, and you know. But there's enough. That's a good answer. There's enough.
It's enough.
There's just enough blood.
There you go. Oh yeah.
Plenty of enough. You also brought a prop in from the movie too. Do you mind showing us?
Yeah. So this is one of the. I don't know if you can see this,
Yeah,
but this is one of the screen used machetes, and as you can see, this is not fake. This was real,
No way.
and it got. Oh yeah.
Like that. Yeah.
So it got pretty eaten up because we're actually hitting them against other machetes in the scene, because I didn't want to have the worry of using fake machetes and then them breaking and then, you know, having add in, you know, sparks or whatever. It's like, no, just dull them and then use the real
Use
things.
the real thing.
And
Oh my
again,
God.
there's only 2 people in the world that I trust to do that with, you know, without rehearsing. And again, we got there early and around 7 a.m. But my friend Ian Axum, who I met on through later, he plays Aaron in the cage fight, and he's a mixed martial artist and things like that, and we talked about it, and he's like, yeah, no, we're gonna use real machetes and just go for it. And though it's pretty simple as far as the, you know, hits and everything, because again, it was still like, well, we only practiced this for, you know, 4 hours this morning. Let's just, you know, take it simple and slow. Yeah, but again, I wouldn't let someone I don't know do that with me, because that is extremely dangerous. One, you know, knock to the head, and that's
fucked.
Yeah, yeah. But
folks.
I am a method actor at sometimes, and not the brightest. And the funny thing was, because with Obamacare and everything, I at 26, I was now off my mom's health insurance, and 5 days after that, we were going to be filming this scene.
Oh man.
So I was calling Blue Cross Blue Shield. It's like, hey. And I told them exactly why I needed something quick. I was like, hey, so I'm a filmmaker, and we're going to be doing a machete fight. Yes, a machete fight. Yes, no, I understand. No, so I didn't.
What was their answer to that? It was
Well,
like,
I wasn't able to get full coverage until 30 days after, but I was able to get like supplements. So like as far as an ER visit or whatever. So for $70, I was able to get 3 or 4 different supplements that would be some semblance of coverage that would. I mean, I didn't need it, luckily, but I mean, I was like, I didn't think about that. See, another example of filmmaking. It's like, oh, that's a thing that, not that it was required, but you know, it's like, I
Good
should
to have.
probably have that. Yeah.
Can I see
Yeah,
that?
that was gonna be my next question.
Yeah.
Because it's the real deal,
Yeah.
dog. This thing
Goddamn
is.
it.
Yeah,
this
so
thing is heavy.
So there was 2. There was 3 machetes we used, and that we had 2 of them like those that were from Harbor Freight, and then we got one from Walmart that didn't have the serrated edge. And surprisingly, the one, as I was telling you guys off air, the Harbor Freight ones did not stand up nearly as much as the one from Walmart. Surprisingly, the one from Walmart barely a nick. But we were actually able to cover the cost of the entire premiere with just one machete.
Yeah, and an indestructible machete.
Yeah,
You auctioned it off, right?
Yeah, we auctioned it off, and I put it down as I put it in a nice shadow box. I took a piece from the cage that we built from the film and put it in there, and took some screen grabs and put them in little frames, and I put it at $75. And then after the premiere ended, I told people, hey, the auctioning's still happening, things like that, and we were out doing sales, talking to people, and my producer John Jackson, associate producer, came up and said, hey, did you see the bid sheet? And I'm like, no, what's this? He's like, is that $1,100? And I'm like, what the fuck are you kidding me?
That's awesome.
And I'm looking at the sheet. So my friend Tony, who's really my brother's friend Tony, but you know, a friend of mine as well, he bid like $200 or $300, and then the liaison with Zorns, his name is Tony Billard. He put down his name and bid him. So my friend Tony was like, wrote on there the real Tony, and then bid up from there, and it just going up and up and up, and it ended up going up to $1,500, and the real Tony did not win, unfortunately. But
not that real then, huh?
he wanted something, so he got the screen used Sean hat for $300.
Nice.
So from 2 auctioned items, we were able to cover the cost of the shirts and everything.
That's
so
awesome.
it was it caught me off. It was like, you people nuts. I mean, I'm not going to say anything, but what's wrong with you?
You made the net to catch the fish, and you caught that fish.
Yeah.
Man, it doesn't hurt to ask.
Yeah, and now Zorns is kind of like lifelong friends now. We're just like, because I've done photo shoots there since then, and it's a great spot. It's not accessible to the public or anything because it is an abandoned building, and it's not necessarily safe. But they're great people, and now they have a piece of, because we gave them a poster too as well. We made canvas print posters for certain producers and people who's really helped us out. So we had one signed by the main people, and we gave that to them. And then I think we got a picture of it up on our Facebook page. And then now that he's got the machete, but they're not hanging it up at Zorn's. Everyone was asking, he's like, "Are you not hanging it up at Zorn's?" He's like, "Hell no, this is mine."
It's mine. I paid for it. Got a couple comments.
What if the apocalypse comes? I need a machete.
Break glass.
Oh man,
it wouldn't be very useful. It's quite dull.
We do got some comments down here. We got John J. Jackson saying Sherry made some great food on set.
Oh yes, no, Sherry along with my mother, both who assisted with catering and making food for people, and because again we had a lot of people on set and food is important. Always remember, on a film set, food is very important. So Sherry Dudek as well. Thank you to her, bless her heart. If I would say every single name if I could, but there's just so many. I'd have to go through the credits. But yeah,
We'll just play the credits.
yeah, I know. But yeah, no. John Jackson is one of our associate producers of the film. And he is also, and he's only kill me if I don't say it. He played the bartender.
There you go.
There you go, John. Love you, buddy.
Love me a good bartender.
Yeah, he was a fantastic bartender. He's about my height and 3 times wider. He's an awesome guy.
Oh, yeah.
Along with many other people who are a part of this project.
That's incredible. Yeah, over 200 people on set. That's incredible.
Yeah,
when I was watching the credits, I was like, that's a lot of people for an indie film.
And some of them came from all. And again, we weren't paying people, but some of these people came from Ohio. The farthest someone came, I think there was 2 people that came from Ohio to come to Illinois. Drove 6 hours just so they can be in the background.
Wow,
They were born. We're doing at Psycho Silo Saloon up there in I think that's like southwestern Illinois. Anyway, it's west, and we were filming there, kind of like a bike. It's a biker bar, and I guess these people from Ohio is like, yeah, no, let's ride our bikes up, and they did.
Sweet.
Yeah, no, we had people from Indianapolis, mainly from Indianapolis. We got them from Iowa, I think a few from Iowa, Wisconsin. The funny thing is about Chicago people, and Chicago people, I love you, but the only people who want to be paid for something, extras, are from Chicago. They're all like, oh, so how, 300 days? I was like, no, I can't afford, no, I got 40 other people on this. I can't, no. I can give you a sandwich and a Diet Coke.
Blame Chicago PD,
yeah.
Chicago Fire, and all those other
Yeah, no,
TV
it's not that I'm complaining. It's just an odd thing where I get people from all who are willing to drive 4 to 6 hours, but the people who just need to drive 20 minutes, want a paycheck. And again, which is not a bad, that's, I think, you've probably been on a few of the, I've never been on.
Rent is high. Rent is high. That's all I got to say.
But like on Chicago P or whatever, I'm sure as a background extra, they get paid roughly around there between $150 and $450.
Still peanuts, yeah.
Yeah, it's still peanuts, but they get paid something. So I understand that, and I'm not, just saying that they're wrong to ask that.
Mm-hmm.
the best I can say is like, sorry, we cannot pay you at this time. If you want to come out, great. If not, I appreciate your time. That's the best I can say.
You know, I think it's important for, I still do some, depending on the gig. I think when somebody really believes in somebody's project, like I'll do freebie stuff. I did it for Jerry Gonzalez for his hamster in my head, just because I was like, that's such a brilliant thing. I want to be a part of this. But I think it's important for people who are at least mildly interested in film to jump into that scene.
Oh yeah.
You know, just do a freebie thing to be an extra on set, just so you gain that on-set experience, so you know, oh, is this something I actually want to get into? Because a lot of people have this idea of like, oh, I'm gonna like go be a part of this film, and it's here I come Hollywood, but it's also a lot of sitting and waiting. And I think that loses a lot of people once they get into that extra scene and they're like, oh, I have to sit here in this holding tent for 6 hours.
And once again, I will be a broken record. Food is important, especially when people are coming out for free. But
it's a lot that goes into film, you know. But you got, I think that's a good thing. That and I recommend that to anyone who's mildly interested. I go, just go onto a film set, see what it's all about. Even if you want to work behind the camera, study what those guys are doing.
Oh yeah.
If you want to be in front of the camera, study what those guys are doing. See what they're doing when the camera's not on.
Yeah.
How do they prep?
Leaving the batteries on, most likely, but no,
right.
But
you gain experience, you gain knowledge. It's a valuable thing for people to get into. But that's a cool thing. Did you guys have any fun like on-set rituals or any like fun games that you guys would play on set?
No, not really. It was really when I'm on set, I turn into work mode, and it's like I will again. Things like people breaking their ribs or things like that, I will miss because I'm just in work mode. And since I was balancing so many hats, which is not really, I mean, as an independent filmmaker, we're used to these things, but you're really not. That's why you have people to help you. And I guess I can add on to an earlier question is like that's another thing I learned is to let people help me. And I'm still not very good at it, but letting people help you so that way it takes off the stress, so that way you can do other things is extremely helpful. And I'm terrible at I'm great at not letting people do that for me. But no, there wasn't really any rituals or anything like that. I get on set and, but I also like it to be a fun set. So it wasn't just, all work, no play. It's like, I want people to enjoy themselves. Like you said before, if you're on a film set, I want people who, if they're on there for the first time, learn and experience it, but also have a good time. Because even though there is a lot of hurry up and wait, as as us in the film industry say constantly to people who don't know what they're talking about, they, I want them to still enjoy themselves, because then you can, while you're waiting, it's like, hey, there's a person that's sitting right next to you that's probably 3 states away or whatever. You get to talk to them. It's like, oh, what are you doing? Oh, you do what? It's like, oh, wait, you're a sound recorder. So like, oh, how'd you get in? All this networking that you can do. So it's yeah. No, but yeah, no rituals, no just turn on the camera and start working.
Yeah. Cool.
And you wrote the whole thing?
So the first initial script, which was anywhere between 48 to 64 pages, somewhere like that. I wrote, and then Corey Davis, after we were editing, because we were using his editing setup and things like that, after he brought up what we called the Henry arc, that was the 38 pages we wrote right before COVID hit, he wrote that, and he's a phenomenal at pulling out, the humanity is probably the wrong word I'm using here, but he's able to have humans be displayed as humans and who they are, and and being able to also have someone like Chris Greer play said character for my character, actually to be able to act well. When you're acting with someone who is phenomenal, it brings out the best in your abilities and things like that. But yeah, no, so altogether it was myself and Corey Davis who wrote the script in its entirety.
When people are writing a lot of pages like that, sometimes they like lose like the momentum to like write. How do you like keep yourself wanting to keep writing more? I know a lot of people will spend like a year writing a script. Coming to me, writing down an idea is pretty easy.
I'm not saying that I'm good at it by any means, but I am. If I have an idea in my head, I can write it down and get it down pretty quick. Um, it's usually where I end up, because also as an illustrator and as well, if I have a piece that I'm working on, it's like, oh well, I don't know what to do here. I'm gonna let it sit and sit. It's like, oh, I'll get to that later. And then 3 years later, it's like, oh, hey, what happened to? It's like, oh, yeah, I'll do a little bit more here. But if I have a straightforward idea, it could take me no time at all, or it could take me 9 years.
And so after you saw the completed piece after 9 years, what was like your first initial thought?
Well, I have seen many variations of this thing because I also edited it alongside Corey Davis and Dustin Reed, and I know Jason Hartman also assisted in the editing as well. He edited our first trailer. You're watching this thing and it becomes it's dangerous for the writer and director to also edit, because your ideas flow and you know what you want, but sometimes that gets in the way of it progressing. So you're nitpicking and all that stuff. And there's still a lot of nitpicking that I can do with this film, but there is a point where it's like, you know what, we have to stop. Just stop. We have to get it out there. It's been 8.5 years. It can't go on it can't go on to 10. It cannot. All right, what were you asking again? Sorry.
My question was, fuck, what was my question?
Aha! Now I don't feel as bad.
How did it feel after it got released?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, it was a weight lifted off my shoulders. Hold on.
Yeah,
so it got released, and after it was done, we just kind of just sat back and we were just trying to figure out a date. It didn't really feel completed until after the premiere was scheduled. After that, it was just promoting and things like that. It's like, okay. Because we couldn't really, I didn't feel, when I work on a project like that, sure, I'll write other things down or other scripts. I have like 28 to 30 other scripts I've written over the years that are just waiting to be shot, but I can't work on something else of my own project. Other people's projects, sure, but so it was like, oh, I can finally do other things. No more feature films for a while. But it was funny though, because I think the computer felt the same way, because after we were saving the final render of the film, it was rendering, and usually when that happens, we watch a movie. We have a projector up in the studio. So we were watching a film, and it finished. So we're like, okay, shut down the computer, and then finish our movie. And we wanted to check something else after the film, and we tried to turn it on, and it wouldn't turn on. The computer died after we saved the final thing that was seen at the premiere.
Lucky.
The film killed the computer.
Damn.
So,
That is crazy. Wow.
Yeah, no, it was a big relief, and I'm really proud of it, excited. I'm excited for more people to see it, trying to figure out, it's like, oh, well, how, distribution, streaming, DVDs, or, all this stuff. We wanted to try to have DVDs or Blu-rays for the premiere, but it would have been too rushed. I didn't want to just, have a disc in a plastic case. I want it to be, even though that will be the majority of them, but I want to have a legitimate, like, not necessarily a steel book, but like a custom case for like a collector's edition, because after 9 years, cool. It's like it deserves something Trauma-esque, special, and right. I want to sculpt this thing, I want to like make it like a tin box with a different shape and to sculpt the letters in it. So at the moment, we don't have a release date or streaming date or anything like that, because after the premiere happened, we're like, okay, I don't have to worry about this now. If it takes a little bit longer, it's fine, because people have seen it now. And if people want to see it and I'm lazy, I'm like, you know what? Give me $5 and I'll send you the digital. I don't have to do nothing for a while. Nice. But no, I mean, I don't want to be lazy about it, but it is something we want to do, but I don't have to rush it. Because we didn't do it with the film, definitely not. I don't call 9 years rushing. So yeah.
It's nothing but ease from here, man. That's good. It's good to knock that off your list.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, big relief. Even talking about it is like, yeah,
Hell yeah.
on to other things that won't take nearly as long.
Do you have other things on the horizon, like
Yeah.
other projects that you're probably can talk
Yeah,
about?
I mean, nothing that's, we have the next project we want to do because we were looking at other scripts and it's like, yeah, no, let's do this one. But we don't, because we want to upgrade. We want, equipment and things like that, get ready for, because again, out of all the things that we learned, we know what we can do, what we can't do, what we need, what we don't need. So that will require some upgrades. So we're going to do that. And the one thing that we wanted to get is still on pre-order, and they don't know when it's going to be released. So it's like, oh well, I guess we're waiting, which is fine. I don't need to make another film right away. I mean, we did Axe Tag this year, so that's like, it's like, yeah, it's a celebratory. It's like, hey, let's just film something, because you have that itch as a filmmaker, or any creative has that itch where it's like, oh, I want to do this again and meet new people and do, just keep going. And it's nice to just stop and not have to worry about it.
Do you remember like the first ever piece that you probably like filmed and completed, like maybe in college or high school or something?
Oh yeah, no. So before I was even into filmmaking, I was into martial arts and things. I only got up to a brown belt in karate. Like I no, not even a brown belt. It was a yellow belt. So I have no formal training in regards to fight choreography. I just know how the human now not then, but now I know how the human body works and things like, I just know how it bends, how it shouldn't. I to use the term again, MacGyver it. I just, when it comes to fighting in general, I mean, I have certain knowledge about certain techniques and whatever, but I don't have any formal training. And then we have these old things that we shot in high school, and they're just, unfortunately, they're on YouTube for all to see. I think the page, the YouTube page was like Merlin Master 79 or something, but we had this little thing that we'd film, and you'd always see it take us forever, because we'd get out of school, it'd be like 2-3 o'clock, we start filming, and then by the end of the clip on YouTube, it's dark out, because we'd be filming from day to night in the same area. No continuity whatsoever. They're god awful. But that was probably the first things that we filmed. It was like on my dad's little Fujifilm or something like that.
Hell yeah.
And I still have all that footage too. I wish I didn't, because they're god awful. But if people want to see, because I'll show up, we'll have movie nights with friends or whatever, and sometimes we'll bring up things that we worked on, and sometimes those things are things that we worked on for the first time, and we get a good laugh out of it. But God, is it hard to watch.
The cringe is good though.
Yeah.
The cringe means that you've grown.
Yeah.
I can relate as a musician, man. When I'm listening to like the old stuff I've written, dude, it's all like, oh fuck, how did I even, like, this shit sucks compared to like all the new stuff that you write.
Yeah.
I can relate. So you also do body paints?
Yeah. So everything from blood rigs. I mean, all the effects done in the film I've done myself with the assistance of people like Sherry and my friend Noelle Rose, and what was the other? I'm so sorry for the other person I'm forgetting, but I appreciate you as well. Your name is in the credits, I promise. But yeah, so body painting is another thing. I don't do it often, but the past 2 or 3 months I've been doing a lot of it, because I just had the itch, and it's like, yeah, no, let's do this. Oh, I got this idea for a zebra. Tiger. I did this one that we called Tigerella, where we want to do a whole character, and we actually want to write a film off of her, because it's like one of those a mix between the 60s and 80s style of like a cop or a spy or somebody, and so she's Tigerella, if you can't tell, is a tiger body painting, and we're just like, yeah, we're gonna call her Tigerella, and she's gonna be this sex symbol in the film, and she does fight scenes and all this stuff, and
yeah.
So I mean, that won't happen for a while, but it's an idea where it's like, well, eventually we'll shoot that. But all my projects are like that, where it's like, it starts from a stupid idea where it's like, oh, this can turn into another idea, or this or that. But yeah, no, body painting is fun. It's a unique way to a different kind of canvas, if you will, rather than a flat piece of paper. You know, you have a three-dimensional body that you can paint on and create different shapes or characters. You know, so yeah.
And can you take us through the beginning of when did Preston Perspective start? How did you originally start it, and what got you into it originally?
So I mean, I'm still DBA. I'm still doing business as myself. I don't have an LLC or anything. I probably should, but I don't feel it's necessary. But yeah, it was in college when I came up with Preston Perspectives, and it actually took a minute to figure that out. But yeah, in college, I knew I wanted to be an artist and things like that. Not necessarily a filmmaker or an effects artist or anything like that, but in college, you know, I was going for a BFA in illustration, and during my time there, Anthony Kozar is another alumni from our beloved American Academy of Art, which unfortunately this year closed after 101 years being open.
Damn.
So, you know, for my fellow alumni from the academy, take a drink for them. So they had on a bulletin board. They always had, you know, very good at, you know, having resources for students and things like that. And one of those things on the board was mask making class by Anthony Kozar. And I was like, Mom, Dad, can I do it? And they're like, well, yeah, of course. Parents are always very supportive. So I went to do that. And then after that, Anthony started to do other things like airbrush paint. I think the next one I took was airbrushing, or if it wasn't, because he had 2 classes for mask making, and then the next one was makeup effects. The first time he did it, and I was like, oh, so we learned how to make our own prosthetic and everything. So, you know, and during that time I was doing those courses, I also got into the effects world and doing my first, you know, working on my first film and things like that. So yeah, around college and 2013 I graduated college. 2013 or 2014. But yeah, in between 2011 and 2014 is when I got into the effects world and learning all the different ways to, you know, make someone look hideous or, you know, whatever.
What's like the weirdest thing you've ever used to like put effects on, like makeup or effect on somebody?
Rephrase that. The weirdest thing
Like,
in regards to a tool to apply makeup, or the weirdest creature or character?
Apply makeup.
The weirdest thing I used to apply makeup.
Yeah.
I mean, as artists, sculptors, or people who work on set as FX artists, we have our tools. You know, there's tools for all these different things. But usually, especially sculptors particularly, they have like 1 or 2 tools they use for everything. Sure, they have another tool that'll be completely better than what you're using now, but because you're stuck in your ways, you use that one tool. I wouldn't say I have anything strange that I use to apply to people. I mean, in regards to blood rigs, originally blood rigs, you know, squibs were used making out of condoms, and then a washer and a piece of string. I have used condoms before for, you know, on set for things, but as far as applying makeup, you know, it's pretty standard. You know, you have your brush, you have your spatula, you know, you have your, you know, sponges, you know, all pretty standard for applying. But it's a very unique question, and you know, as artists, we utilize the strangest things, especially effects artists. You know, we can find a lot of useful stuff at the dollar store that it's like, oh, you never think to use it like this, but you can.
Like a real machete.
Yeah. Well,
And then, so what was the I don't know, what was the most like, what have you applied makeup on, like a character type, like the most strangest character you've ever?
The strangest character
Done?
I mean, they get stranger and stranger every single time, because that's the beauty about my job, is you never know what you're going to do next. I mean, the best example, one that people can find on Instagram relatively easily, is a character called Toad Boy, which is a short film by Phil McLaughlin. And it was the first time I ever won an award for a makeup. So technically, I'm an award-winning makeup artist. But that was so it's like half half toad, half human, and it took 8.5 hours to apply, from here down. And again, it can be found on Instagram there. But that was probably the most unique and extensive makeup I have ever done on somebody, because of the time it took to not only make the prosthetics and everything like that, but to also apply it. But I've done things from zombies to vampires to more zombies, elephant men for a circus. I've done there's just a whole bunch of and plenty of gore and just trauma makeups as well. So it's always unique. The strangest one that's why I didn't think of it, because the film never got finished. There's a film that I was working on called Demosamine, and it has yet to be released because unfortunately a good friend of mine and the director, Chad Armstrong, passed away. And the film never got finished, and we don't exactly know who has everything. But there was a character in there that I got to redesign, and his name was Mr. Balls with a Z. And so he had a long appendage in between his legs, and dangling testicles, and
hell yeah.
And I was going to play this character, so I've applied this makeup to myself. But the redesign, I added a gigantic vagina on the back of his head, but I just called it a breathing apparatus.
Isn't that what they are anyways?
Yeah.
Kidding.
But because it was just a all practical effects, balls to the walls type of film.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? FX artists have been adding penis and labia to sculptures for a long time. Why not add an actual one to the back of his head? But I never got to finish that creature in its entirety. But I made the whole penis. The penis is as long as my arm, and I had a little cable mechanism to make it, go back and forth, and curl up and things like that. Had a little stinger on the end of it.
Oh wow!
But yeah, I never got to finish painting that. And, yeah, we never got to finish that film. So unfortunately, yeah. But that would be if it would have been finished, that would probably be the strangest character that I would have done. Would have been Mr. Balls.
Mr. Balls with a swinging dick and a vagina in his back of the head.
Yeah.
Maybe one day you'll finish him and he won't have blue balls.
Yeah.
One day. We can all dream. Do you have a favorite medium that you work on?
In regards to materials, or as far as like illustration or film?
Makeup, film, photography.
It's a lovely balance, because I don't get bored. It's like, oh well, I want to do a body painting. I call up a friend of mine, whoever I think would work best for said painting. Is like, hey, let's do it. I want to make a film. Let's do it. It's there is a smorgasbord of different things I get to do, and it's never a dull moment. So I like aspects of all the things I do. When I'm on set applying makeup and it's the final look, it's like, oh, that looks good. I'm so happy to be doing this. But at the same time, when I'm doing a painting, sitting there, doing a watercolor painting for 30 hours, it's like, oh God, I love how this blue is looking on his shoulder and doing this and that. All these elements is like, I can't really pick a favorite, because it wouldn't be fair to the other things that I enjoy doing. So I just enjoy what I do in general. It's unique. And I took the advice from my father, again, who passed away during the making of, or during, like, right as we started filming later, he passed away. But he always told me, it's like, if you're going to choose a career, do something that you enjoy. Don't become don't become, dulled down and, bored, doing a 9-to-5 job. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but, he always told me that, do what you love to do. And that is exactly what I'm doing, is living the life I want to live, and making things I want to make, and, making things that I probably shouldn't make, but make them anyway.
Like vagina heads.
Yeah.
Well, you're making people happy doing it.
Yeah,
And yourself.
yeah. No,
It's a
I have
beautiful thing.
I have a lovely family of friends that I hang out with and speak to on a regular basis and all this stuff. So it's and even me and you, we met on the first one. That was the
I think that was
the
the
note-
journal.
yeah, the journal. I almost said the
Journal.
Notebook. I was like,
Yeah.
no, wrong movie.
Yeah.
Brokeback Mountain. Oh wait.
Our buddy Jake Olson directed the journal
Yeah.
with Blue Collar Productions.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was tuning in earlier. I sent him the link. So
Oh,
you know,
nice.
Jake,
Yes. Hi, Jake. How you doing?
and then we worked on a couple other things together too. Our buddy Tyler Evans made a film too.
Yeah,
I haven't seen that one yet. I think that's
Yeah, I
still
don't.
in the
I
pipeline.
mean, I think because I did the poster for that one too. No, that was a different one. That was Granny Shoot.
Oh yeah.
What was the other one?
Bachelor in the
Bachelor
Grove?
Grove. Yeah. So I did not do the poster for that one. The effects I did. But no, because I posted one or two of the makeups from that because I asked Tyler, I was like, hey, what's happening with this? And he's like, yeah, you can go ahead and post. So yeah, I haven't heard anything about that either. I haven't heard from him in a while.
Yeah, we should hit him up.
Yeah.
He just got married recently.
Oh well, congratulations to him.
Congrats, Tyler. But yeah, man, it's been fun working on set with you. It's funny, and even like I see your posts sometimes when you're looking for models and other people. I'm so happy I was able to connect my one buddy Tim Walsh to you for that Norman Rockwell painting shoot that you did. Was that your shot that you did? It was the Thanksgiving one where everyone was like eating off that woman on the
Oh yeah. No, yeah. So yeah, no, that was a first time I was like Norman Rockwell. I was like, oh right, no, the Turk. Yeah, no, the
turkey shoot.
yeah, no, that. Yeah, no, that no. See, that's what the beauty about networking is that you can find people relatively quickly who
Yeah.
want to do stupid stuff like have Thanksgiving dinner off of a very gorgeous nude woman lying on the table.
The things we do for art.
Yeah.
Sacrifice.
I will be clear though, no food was actually eaten off of her except for the gravy off her toes by Petey, my friend Emily's dog. No humans actually ate off of her.
I was about to say, damn.
It's a lucky dog. Oh man! But that being said, follow Dennis on social media. Preston Perspectives. Find him on social media. If you're ever posting, I sometimes share your stuff. If you see it on there, if you're interested in doing some body art or getting into
Yeah, no, I'm always
check
looking
this
for
guy
new
out.
people to work with, and if you ask other people I've worked with, I'm very considerate, and I'm a good person. I'm strange and weird, but what artist isn't?
True.
Who wants to be normal?
Yeah.
You're incredibly professional. I will say.
That was the word I was looking for.
Every time I've been on set with you, it's funny because someone will be like giggling or something. And you're like, "Hey, stop, focus, got to get this done," which I for one greatly appreciate. I like when I'm on set with someone who's so professional and you check in with people. I remember you you put the prosthetic on my chest for journal, and you like the whole time you're like, "Do you feel comfortable?
Yeah.
Can I touch you here? Is this okay?" Which is greatly appreciated,
Yeah.
and it's a sign of incredible professionalism.
Yeah, I mean, especially when in my job when you're. Not that your stomach was a sensitive area, but to some people it could
It's
be.
a little ticklish.
So you want to be respectful and make sure people are comfortable because that's my job at the end of the day. It's like if I'm putting all this glue and other stuff on you, I need to make sure it's not having a harsh reaction or whatever, and then I need to take it off at the end of the day. So being attentive to the people you work with is important.
Yeah, and it's greatly appreciated.
Yeah, but I definitely need to get you on. We've been trying for a while. Every time we either miss you or you're scheduled with something else, but we're need to get you on one of my sets. I've worked with you on other people's sets. I need to get you on one of my
Hey,
sets.
brother, I'm available. Let me know. Give me a call. I'm there at a moment's notice. Hit me up
Yeah.
anytime.
Can we
Well-
paint Jack's body?
That's up to him.
Hey, I'll be your canvas.
Yeah, we'll do a live show of just painting. We'll just have to censor some
There you
part.
go.
No.
Damn. Have you ever painted a man?
Once or
It's mostly
twice. But mostly women. Yeah. I mean, I won't lie. It's more fun to paint a woman, but it's also the fact of it's easier to find female models to paint on because there's a lot more of them, and I know a lot more women than I do men, and even less men. I think I only know 2 nude models, who actually do nude modeling. Yeah, I only know two of them, and one of them is incredibly expensive.
Hey, you throw in a case of beer, I'll do it for you. I think no, I work for less than that.
Do it for half a case.
Half a can.
Half a can.
But see, here the good thing is like I'm bougie, so I wouldn't get you the mud water that is Miller High Life or anything like that. I'd get you the good stuff.
You get you some PBR.
Yeah.
Actually, I've been having I just got a case of Elysium pump like is a variety pack of different pumpkin ales they have. There's a Imperial Pumpkin Stout Ale. There's just a regular amber pumpkin ale, and then a IPA one, and then another one I don't remember. Is like, oh, like have you ever had any of the pumpkin brews?
I believe so. Yeah, I'm a big pumpkin ale guy. I love Pumpkin. I forgot what brewery.
I think I've had that one. Yeah,
that one's a really good one. Yeah, I'm trying to lay off the beers lately. You know, I'm trying to like cut weight. You know, trying to get that model bod back. But I don't know, dude. It's hard once you hit 30. It's like I have a beard. I'm like. I'm just bloated for a fucking month.
You're 30. Grow up. Come on, man.
Try not to grow
You're
up,
not
man.
old enough to say, "Oh man, I'm getting too old for." You're 30.
That's the prime age of drinking, bro.
I don't know, dude. When you do what I do, you gotta stay. I did accomplish a new goal recently.
Okay.
So my partner and I, she owns a kids character company, and they send out superheroes and things like that. And she sends me out as Spider-Man from time to time. And I don't know if you know anything about Spider-Man, but it's incredibly revealing. It's a very slim costume. And I did an event as Spider-Man, and I saw the photos after, and I had total muffin top. It was just like in my like craft beer era, and I was just like, I can't do this anymore. And then I'm like, I got all upset about it. And my girlfriend's like, it's okay. It's like Peter Parker's a teenage boy. You're a 30-year-old man. Like you can't.
It's not making it any better.
Yeah. She's like, it's okay. It's just life. And then I'm like, I gotta trim up a little bit. And I was doing like aerobics classes with my girl. And dude, I'm in the middle of this aerobics class, and it's like a dancing thing. It's like an anime girl up in front doing all the moves, and everyone's following along fine and dandy, and I'm not, dude.
You're over here facing the other way.
Dog, I'm 3 steps behind. I'm looking the wrong way. And at one point, and she like looked at me and she like laughed at me, the instructor. She giggled at me, and I'm like,
That's
fuck.
terrible.
And it didn't help that I'm like, I smoked a little bit before, you know what I mean? I wasn't really in my zone. And then in a fit of rage, I'm like, I can't do it anymore. And my girlfriend looks at me and she's like, what's going on? And I'm like, I can't do it. And I go, not my Spider-Man. And I grab my water bottle and I walk out. And she was like, what do you mean not my Spider-Man? And I'm like, yeah, everyone's like trying to be like Linguini, tiny Tom Holland Spider-Man, but that's not my Spider-Man. I'm Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. And I'm like, I'm going to hit the weights, man. But it's hard, dude. It's hard to lose that beer belly, and especially if you gotta. It's I don't know, man. It's when you gotta trim into Spidey like that, or any other suit for that matter, and it's a sweaty pool of.
Yeah,
it's good to be.
I mean, I've been graced with, and people hate me for it and don't like me to bring it up, but I can eat just about anything, and because I have a high metabolism, so I can just if I eat two or three pizzas, it doesn't do nothing. Damn. But I'm also
6'7". Keep bragging,
yeah.
bro.
Well, I mean, hey, if you were to come to in theoretical Thanksgiving dinner with my mom's side of the family. Again, 7 brothers, 3 sisters, big family. I'm the tallest in the family, but they're all 6'6" and below, but they eat a ton. And I think that's where I got my habit from, because anytime I was at my grandpa's when I was a kid, he's like, oh, you can't, in a joking manner, we always have lox on bagel, and he's like, oh, you can't have more lox than me. That's not allowed. You can't eat more than I can. And I was always like, oh, I got to eat more than grandpa. And that was a real proud moment when I became the tallest in the family, let me tell you. But I'm always, I'll eat whatever. Not that I'm junk foodaholic or anything, but I only live once, so I'm going to eat what I enjoy. I mean, I do when I have the time to. There's a workout I was doing called the Northman workout, and that, you know, I think 200 grams of protein is what was required for the diet, 5 meals a day, which is no problem. I can eat a lot, but it's that part is the hard part to me is the nutrition part. It's like having to make sure there's enough. Like I thought I was eating enough because again I eat a lot, and I was eating even 3 times more than I normally eat, and I still wasn't coming up to the numbers needed. Again, I'm also a big guy, so I need to intake more, but it's like that's the tiring part. Because if I can get into a rhythm or a schedule of working out or whatever, it's like, okay, yeah, no, I can fit it into a schedule. It makes sense. The food part, however.
That's half the battle, man. It's hard. It's really hard.
It's actually like the most of the battle, the food part, man. Like that's pretty much it, man. Like you can exercise, but if you don't eat like the right kind of food, you're kind of fucked.
Well, see, everyone there's hundreds of different diet plans, all these things, and everyone's just like, oh yeah, you know, you have to eat very specific, and other people are just like, oh well, yeah, when I'm working out, I just eat whatever. I just eat every hour of every day. You know, I try to avoid certain sugars, but other than that, I just eat whatever. And it's just like there's no winning. So it's kind of like one of those things where you guys kind of find your own way of doing things because everyone's different. There's no surefire way to, you know, do what you need to do. The only thing that is the surefire way is that you have to put in the work. So
and then you die.
Yeah. Way to bring down the
Life's
mood,
a bitch,
man.
and then you die. The words of Biggie.
Eat some good food along the
Tupac.
way.
Yes, eat some good food.
I think it's important to listen to your body. I feel like a lot of people don't have that recognition, especially in like an American, in the food world in America, because it's so much of it is processed. So much of it is just like kind of just pushed at you. And people don't have that insight to listen to their body and be like, oh, maybe I am lactose intolerant. Maybe I shouldn't be drinking milk.
I've had this weird thing the past maybe year and a half, and I think I'm allergic to starch because over a period of time I started, like, if I were to eat specifically from like a Chinese restaurant or anything, depending on if they washed their rice or not, because if I wash rice, it doesn't happen. But if I just eat like unwashed rice, I would start to get like really phlegmy, and then like the hiccups. And then I like even one time because we were out and coming back home from a trip and we were in Ohio, we were eating sushi and I always get a side of white rice because it's like I just like plain white rice. I threw it up out of the car because I was getting phlegmy and I couldn't breathe. And I was just like, what the fuck is this? And it's just like, you know, as you get older, it just things happen, and it's like, oh, that'll never happen to me. And one of those things are happening to me, and I don't know what the hell it is. So, but I think I'm allergic to starch because it doesn't happen with potatoes, but fried potatoes it'll happen with. And then it's I don't know, man.
You should do like an allergy test or like a food test. My girlfriend did that, and she's like, "Oh, I can't eat tomatoes. I can't do this." I'm like, "You were so much more fun before you took this test. Like you ate everything. Now you're picky."
Hey man, try dating a vegan.
I could date a vegan. I just couldn't date like the gummy bear vegan. You know what I mean? Because some people are like, I'm vegan. It's like, dude, you eat fucking bags of candy all day. That's not, you know, it's not real food.
But hey, you know, everyone's entitled to do what they want to do. You know, even if it's silly to some of us, it's not to them. So, you know, hey, again, we only live once. If you want to live your life that way, go for it.
Yeah, sometimes I put cornstarch in my balls when it's too hot instead of talcum powder.
What?
Wait, you did what now?
I put cornstarch in my balls instead of talcum powder.
For real?
So it's like an old kitchen trick.
Yeah?
I don't think people do it anymore, but
I used to put foot powder or like baby powder on my nuts. Yeah.
So it's kind of like the same concept.
Yeah.
So like back in the day, or I don't know if they do it now anymore, but like cooks in the kitchen.
Bro, you just said you did it.
It gets like I was joking. They get like really hot.
You're just caught on camera.
I don't care.
Stop spreading false information.
They would get really sweaty and shit, and like you're in there for like 12 hours straight, and like your balls are like sticking to like your thighs and shit. Yeah. So you grab.
So this is where you guys bring in the Manscaped commercial, right? No,
yeah. Right. Sponsor us, Manscaped, and Celsius, please, and Jepson's Malort,
and Acme starch powder.
And
for your balls.
For your balls. Yo, we should just make like fake commercials.
We should. Do your balls get itchy? Are you in a kitchen setting?
Cornstarch.
Cornstarch.
For your balls.
Are you on set for 14 hours a day with no AC?
Cornstarch. Poof. Oh man, the things we put on our balls. One time I got icy hot on my balls. That was rough.
I did that because I was like a teenager. I was like 13 or something. But we were out playing in the woods or whatever, and I fell awkwardly on in between, and it was just like, oh, let me try to put icy hot. Maybe that'll no. I'm going to tell you right now. Any teenage boys who are out there listening right now, don't put icy hot on your balls.
The icy feels nice. The icy's nice.
Yeah, no, the icy's fine until it gets to the heat. Then you regret it.
Yeah, there's a lot of things you probably shouldn't put in your balls that we probably thought of putting in their balls a long time ago.
I mean, since we're on the topic, and I am an FX artist, so we on the set of the Most of Me, no less, I'd got blood on the actress so many times. She wanted to get revenge, so we gave her the blood rig and loaded it up, and I sat on the set, and it was like, okay, I'll sit here, and she was really excited, but she missed me like twice. I'm like, okay, let's reload it, and then they're like, okay, so we don't miss it. My smart idea is like ran it up my pants leg and then put it in my belt so that way it would hit me square in the jaw. It didn't hit me square in the jaw. As soon as she hit it, it went straight back and hit me square in the taint. Yeah, so I was stained red for a little bit there.
God.
If my mom's listening, sorry, Mom, for you to have to listen to this.
For your son to talk about his taint.
But this
That's
is what
proper of you to call
But this
it
is what
taint.
happens when you let 3 unsupervised adult men in a room together.
Kind of like now.
Welcome to Hawk Wins.
Hawk 2 wins.
So let me ask you this: this is your podcast, but the name Hawk Wins, where did that come from?
Hawk winds is an old-timey expression about the winds that would blow off of Lake Michigan.
Okay.
So it was
Appropriate.
talking about the cold, dark, the skin-piercing winds that would roll off the lake.
Okay.
And it was one of those things that like kind of went away for a little while, and people were like, no one really said it, but it was a big thing back during the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. Somewhere it just kind of dropped off and no one really said it anymore.
So kind of like Dibs, where it disappeared and then it came back.
Yeah, we're bringing it back. We're bringing it back the whole time. But the idea of it is that the winds would blow in different entertainment through into the show off of the Great Lakes area.
Okay.
So that's what's fun about it. We don't just do Chicagoans. We get people from Indiana, Wisconsin, all over the place.
Oh, well that helps put it into the context of Hawk Wins.
Yeah.
And we were thinking, we want like a 2-word show. It's got to be blank blank and like 2 single syllable words, And then the radio picture show kind of adapts to the video podcast thing. It's like a radio show, but kind of video. So
yeah, wordplay is fun when you're designing things and things like that. Especially like with later, since I called it a post-apocalyptic thriller, I can like with the premiere, it was a post-apocalyptic premiere. With the soundtrack, it's a post-apocalyptic soundtrack. When we have a concert for the sound, originally we'd only have the concert play for everyone after the premiere, but he unfortunately couldn't get a band together. Chicago reference for people who don't know the Blues Brothers, but
the band.
He couldn't get people together in time, and instead of doing it half-assed, he was like, let's just do it at a different time. So eventually there will be a post-apocalyptic concert. So cool. Wordplay like that is fun, where you're coming up with logos or things. It's like, oh, how can we fit this in and make it as variable amount of uses as possible? So that's cool. Good on you.
And how did you come up with the name Later for your film?
So when I first was doing it back initially when we made the first film, it was called Later. It was just a short little, film, 3 or 4 minutes long, that was for the Frozen Film Festival that was in, not Westmont, somewhere, like northwest Chicago. I don't know where I came up with the name Later, but I do remember the name of the original trilogy because it was going to be 3 films. It was going to be Later on, and then Now. And then, after starting to work on the second one, talking with another friend of mine, he was like, yeah, well, you should, Kevin Manning is his name. He's he was in the film, but he's actually in a part that we cut out that we're going to be turning into a short film. But anyway, he's like, yeah, you should just turn it into a feature film. And it's like, yeah, no, do this and that. And we talked for like 2 or 3 hours about it, and then it's like, okay. So yeah, I guess later probably came from the fact of it's like, oh well, this is happening later on, kind of giving it a hint of this is happening in the future. But again, this was back in 2017 when we started filming it. So later, like in the film, I think we had it at 2025. Literally, that's what we had it, and then 9 years later, it released it.
Yeah, that's funny.
But so I think that was the idea behind calling it later, was that it was happening later, something that happened later on. But yeah, I don't know the specific origins. It was just an idea I had one day, and I wrote it up, and it went from there.
How long would you be able to survive in a post-apocalyptic world, like you yourself?
What's your game plan? What would you do?
Well, see, it's really depending on people, and that's the thing with people, is that they're unpredictable, and you never know what they're going to do. So there's no surefire way, because just like on a film set, you never know what's going to happen. And so I think I did this one project in college where we had I think it was an illustration course where we were like designing, like a world. Yeah, no, it was like a world thing where we had to design some characters, design some, oh no, it was a different class, but it can still work in this metaphor. But anyway, we had to design, it was for illustrated a thing to learn how to survive a zombie apocalypse. That's what it was. You had to teach someone how to do certain things. Like the example the teacher gave is like how to make a sandwich, and then illustrate it and go from there. So it's like, oh, how to survive a zombie apocalypse. So I made a whole diagrams as like, oh, well, if you're going to nail in boards across the windows, because I'll see it in the movies, they'll just nail it. And it's like, no, do it at different angles, so that way if they try to hit it from the other side, it can't pop out. So I did illustrations like that and a whole bunch of other stuff. But I honestly don't know. Sure, I'm fit and active, and I think strong enough to hold my own, but in a unlikely, well, maybe not right now, but but in certain circumstances where it's kind of hard to be like, oh yeah, because everyone, a lot of people be like, oh yeah, no, I'll be great, and it's like, yeah, but sometimes those people are going to be the first to die. So I honestly don't know. We were. But we just didn't have enough time to do it. But we were going to do a thing where it's like, oh, well, if we get so many views by this time on the trailer, because the original trailer reached over 40,000 views, and we're like, hey, yeah, we reached this. So we want to do something special, which unfortunately I regret we never did. But we were going to do like a survival course things, like set up an obstacle course where we had to hide things, and then
pretty cool.
like make a campfire, and just do, because we were trying to think of things that we could do as a reward for people for putting up with us for this long. And some people were like, oh yeah, do the pokey or the pocky chip or the hot chip challenge, where it's like, yeah, but that's a chip. It's like, what's something that we can do that's related to this? So we were going to do something like that. We just never got around to doing it. And it's not like we have tens of thousands of followers who are, keeping us on our toes and be like, hey, you never did this thing. So I'm sure people have forgot what I just said. So I might have just shot myself in the foot for the 3 people who were looking forward to doing, seeing us, put our stuff through that.
Now it's recorded. Now you gotta.
What about you, Jack? You got a escape plan for the apocalypse?
Dog, I'm heading up to Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
I'm going north.
Surrounded by multiple lakes.
Yeah, right.
Well, no, I'm thinking Michigan. I'm sorry.
I would not go through Chicago. I have a lot of family on the south side.
Well, it depends on the apocalypse too. Are we talking zombie? Are we talking viral? Or are we talking what, like in my film, just general uprising of people themselves? There's.
I think in any one of those, you would want to avoid major cities.
Yeah. Oh no, for sure. But I think there was one podcast, but they said if it were to actually happen, America is not, whether it's aliens or whatever, anything that would try to take over would be screwed, because there are twice as many guns as there are Americans in the States. Yeah. It's just like, not all of them know how to shoot, but a lot of them do. So you know, and whether they love, you know, they all love this country. You have freaking aliens coming down from the sky. I'm sorry, I don't think they're going to last long.
Grandpappy, get your gun.
Yeah.
No goddamn aliens.
Grandma, get
come.
yours too.
Great grandma, get your rifle. I'm coming.
But no, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Like even my film, it's like, yeah, no, in the voiceover or whatever I did, it's like, yeah, we avoided major cities and all that stuff because yeah, everyone's only fleeing there for the resources and, you know, figuring out, you know, what's happening and, you know, and just because of the overpopulation in general, it's just like, yeah, no, I don't. It's the same thing as of right now. Even there is no apocalypse, I don't want to be in the city. It took me an hour to get 17 miles from one place to get here. Damn it.
Yeah, the apocalypse is here already. Yeah. The aliens are here.
Oh god.
No, man, it's and that's it's a scary topic for a lot of people. And I was talking to someone about this the other day, and they're like, "Why are there so many apocalyptic films now?" And I'm like, "Well, because like it's triggering." It's pulling the trigger on what people are really afraid of something that can genuinely happen to them right now. And it might not be in the sense of like a downfall of a civilization or a virus. You know, it could very well be a hurricane that's coming through and you got to evacuate. Like that's an incredible fear that you got to be able to conquer. And I think that a lot of films like this give you that insight to it of like, shit, what would you do? What can I do? I should follow what these guys are doing.
Yeah, no, there's you know, people are afraid of what they can relate to, and that's another, you know, with later we wanted to show, though I don't think we hit the level of depravity that, let's say, like, you know, the Devil's Rejects did, which was a sort of inspiration in regards to human behavior for what I wanted people to act like in the film. Not necessarily the way it was shot or the reasoning behind it or whatever, but, you know, just the scariest thing are people, are humans. Like, you know, that's why a lot of people are like, oh, yeah, in Walking Dead, it's like, oh, it gets boring. It gets, you know, rehashing the same thing over and over. What's the word? It happens over and over again. Anyway,
a dead horse.
Yeah. But that was exactly, that's why I like Walking Dead. Is like, you know, after you defeat one group of bad people, there's going to be hundreds of others right behind them. So what else are you going to do after, you know, spending 10 years with zombies? They're going to become like the average raccoon or bear digging around your garbage. They're just there. It's like, oh, it's like, okay, then now let's deal with the psycho who has a Thanos theory happening right now.
True. That's an interesting perspective on it, is that humans are one, probably the worst cause for most things in the world. Could be the solution, not always the solution. But in a downfall, that's the guy you got to look after. You got not look after, but look out for. Is the guy who's going to have that power trip. You know?
Some of my favorite films that are the scariest are things like cult films and things like that, where it's like, you know, these people like actually believe in what they're spouting, and it's just like these people actually do what they're saying. It's like, no, they will kill hundreds of thousands. They don't care. They have an idea in their head, and nothing else is going to change their mind, and that's pretty scary. So I think a lot of films like that have a realistic horror aspect is the most frightening, and I tried to put that into later. I don't know if I did enough, but I will say every time I see Rick Chandler's character Michael in my film, I do this. It's like, oh, I hate that guy. At least Krieg was fun.
Hell yeah.
Oh man, whew, you got me getting the willies now, man. Because it's not to get political, but it's looking scary out there in parts of the world, parts of our world especially.
But what's important is that we stick together, and you know, and just like you were saying earlier, like the people in the South there with the hurricane coming, you know, take care, and, you know, listen to your fellow scary humans, and you know, and at the end, if we work together, we can figure it out.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we're getting to just about that time to wrap up here in a few. Are there any last things that you want our listeners to know about you?
No, not at the moment. I mean, normally I would say, you know, you can check out my website and things like that. But I guess if there is an audience of what is your audience at the
Currently 5, all around 18.
Oh, okay. Well, out of the 5 people out there, and whoever watches this video afterwards, my website is down at the moment. So if you look up PrestonPerspectives.com, unfortunately, you get an error message from Wix. So I'm on the route of fixing that. But if anyone needs to look at my work, oh, I'm so sorry. Excuse me. If anyone needs to check out my work or anything like that, go to my Instagram, Preston_perspectives, or you can go to my Facebook page or any of those social medias. You can find me and
all of those are in the description down below. So if you go down to this description at the bottom here, check it out. All those links I've attached on there. So
Much
you guys
appreciated.
Can check them all out.
And those 5 people that are watching, subscribe to our channel, like right now.
Subscribe.
Yeah, we can see that you're not
Do it.
subscribed. Do it.
Do it.
Yeah. Smash it
Or
like
else
that's-
Jack here is going to recite the entire Bible backwards.
backwards.
Upside down.
I had to read the Bible.
getting
when
body
I was a
painted.
kid. I don't know if I could do it backward. Bro. Oh man. But no, man. I Dennis, I think you're awesome, man. You know, I've been pals with you for many years, and I'm still sliding in your DMs trying to work with you as much as I can, brother.
You can slide in anytime, brother.
Well, dude, I think what you do is awesome, sincerely. And it's, you know, when me and Jay were talking about doing all the spooky stuff this Halloween season, I was like, I got the guy. We got to get Dennis in here. And I'm so glad that you were able to make it happen, brother, sincerely. And, you know, we wish you nothing but the best of luck and with all
Same
your
to you.
futures endeavors and keep rolling with it, brother. You know,
Oh,
you got a beautiful gift, and your dad was right. You know, keep doing it, and it makes you happy, and it makes a lot of other people really happy, and it's, you know, it's maybe what God put you on this green earth for. So keep at it, brother. I'm really proud of you for all your accomplishments, and I can't wait to see where your career takes off.
No, thank you, sir. And, you know, too, as well, I'm looking forward to finally get you on one of my sets, and I'm looking forward to, now I have a new thing to watch while I'm working down in the studio here. So Wednesday nights, I'll have something to watch.
Yeah, brother.
Yeah.
Tune on in every Wednesday and leave us a comment. Let us know you're watching.
Yeah, no, for sure, man.
Cool. Well, all right, fellas. What do you say we wrap it on up then, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Well, thank you guys again for joining us here at Hawk Wins Radio Picture Show. Me and Jay usually end each show with something to influence the world. Not that we're influencers by any means. I'm not trying to be an influencer. I guess by definition, I guess we're influencing. I just want to say to everyone out there who has been working on something for a long time, keep at it. Keep at it. Keep at it. And set yourself goals to eventually release it. If it's going to make you happy in the end of the day, it's going to make your friends happy. It's going to make a lot of people happy. So keep at it. It's never too late to start up something new. It's never too late to finish something. I come from a family where we start 10 projects before we finish one. Just not write them out. Write out your goals. Write out what you want to do and release it. You know, the world needs you. The world needs the art. That's what I gotta say.
I second that.
Yeah.
I second that motion.
Cool. Well, let's wrap it up, and then we can hop on out of here. But thank you guys again so much for joining us this Wednesday. Again, check out Dennis Preston down in the description. All of his stuff is down there. Give him a like, give him a follow. Let him know Jack and Jay sent you. And without further ado, thank you guys so much for joining us. Y'all have a great night. My name is Jack Dwyer.
And I'm Jay Smooth.
Thanks for watching Hawk Wins.
Yeah.
Told you, dude.